Okay, forgot it. Okay, so yeah, thank you all for joining us. So now we start our program, and tonight our guest poet is Alice Major, and here I wanted to share her biography. So Alice Major has published 11 collections of poetry, 2 novels for young adults. Her 11th poetry collection is Welcome to the Anthropocene, published by the University of Alberta Press. Science has been a source of inspiration for much of her work, including an award-winning collection of essays, Intersecting Sets. A poet looks at science. Alice serves as the first poet laureate for her home city, Edmonton, and her honors include an honorary doctorate of letters from the University of Alberta. And I listed several books by Alice, and you can go to her website to search more, to find more. Actually, I also went to Alice's website and found Alice's father was a poet too. Yeah. So, and also her mother was very interesting. So later on, maybe Alice can share some stories, and also for her parents, and also how she got hooked by science. And here's a photo I took from her Facebook. Yeah, it's wonderful for your doctorate, right? And of letters for the ceremony, right? And also in 2016, I was invited by Alice to join Edmonton Poetry Festival. And the Edmonton Poetry Festival is a great festival. It's international and also has so many great programs. And I hope you invite me back again. Anyway, yeah, and we met several times at the League of Canadian Poets annual conference, right? So this is, I guess, in Toronto. We also met in other places. So now I want to quickly introduce myself for those who don't know me. So my name's Anna Yin. I was Miss Saga's inaugural poet laureate and has authored 5 poetry collections, and I won several awards. And my next book, Mirrors and Windows, a collection of translations, will be published by Guernica Editions in 2021. And we will discuss 2 poems by Alice Major and my translations from that book, and also her poems related to science. And now I wanted to stop sharing the screen and welcome back Alice to talk about her childhood and her parents and also science. Yeah, okay. Alice, it's our honor to have you tonight.
Thank you, Anna. It's lovely to be here. Can you hear me? Okay. I feel very intimidated to be here, frankly, because I am so embarrassingly unilingual. I did study a little bit of French and German and Latin when I was in high school, but I couldn't order a sandwich in any of those languages. And as a matter of fact, I did try to translate one of my own poems into French for a festival in Trois-Rivières. When I showed it to Pierre, my translation to Pierrette Requier, who was one of our poets laureate here in Edmonton and is a francophone, she looked at it and she said, "Alice, this is not a good poem." So it made me realize just how difficult the act of translation is, how complex. And I'm very much in awe of you, Anna, who can be fluent and write in languages as different as Chinese and English. You asked me to talk a little bit about my mom and dad. They were not highly educated people. They were from Scotland. We came to Scotland to Canada when I was a little girl of 8. But the dad was a house painter. But they were intelligent and curious people. And my father wrote poems. I thought, therefore, that writing poems was normal. He used to recite them around the table, and he would make us laugh, make us cry, make us feel that poetry was part of our lives in a very inspiring way. I think it was in a way my mother that inspired my interest in science. She was determined her daughters were going to be educated. She wasn't sure what it would be for or what kind of things we would do, but she wanted us to be independent. And I can remember on my 11th, when I was about 11, she gave me a book called Relativity for the Million. It was a book about the theory of relativity. You know, I do not remember asking for this. It just came out of the blue, but it became a wonderful stimulation for my imagination. I fell in love with the ideas of cosmology and physics, and I found that they became a source of inspiration for my poetry, even though I never studied science in any formal way. I do think it's really weird to have a doctorate. You know, I do not feel I do not feel I deserve this.
No, you know, it's a funny thing, right? I thought your background might be more poetic, right? Right? And my background is more scientific way, right? Because of my father is
Uh-huh.
engineer. My mother is teacher. She teaches physics. So, and my job is computer science, right? So my major is computer science. So when I started writing poetry and publishing poetry and won award, my father just worried. He asked me, "Do you want any money?" That's the first question. How much? And he thought boys are poor. So later on he made a family tree. Like he tried to make a family tree like to tell each offspring, right, what they did, what they do, right? So he wrote me, and as engineer, then put a little bit of smaller words, toys. So he really think the engineer will save me. Yeah. Anyway, so I wrote a poem for that. Yeah. Anyway, but I watched your video about you compare poets and scientists, right? You think poets and science almost think the same, almost use, because science and poets try to find the pattern, right, to solve the
That's
problem,
right.
right, and also try to use a simple way. So I thought, oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So maybe you can talk a little bit. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So much of well, human thought is really, really driven by metaphor. You know, we have
Yeah,
these
exactly.
cortices that associate things, different things together, and try and find the patterns and the connections between them. And I think that's true of all human beings, but it's especially true in some disciplines, like poetry. Obviously, we're always hunting for metaphor, and scientists are not necessarily thinking of it as metaphor. They turn up their noses at the idea of metaphor, perhaps, but in fact, they are always reaching for metaphor to articulate what kinds of discoveries they've made through their instrument readings and their mathematical formulae and all the rest of it. So to me, that was sort of why I find a kind of commonality between science, writing poetry about science, and translation,
Yeah.
because when you're thinking about writing a poem or writing using a science metaphor, you are trying to be accurate and faithful to the original. You are
Yes.
trying to get
We
at what those original thoughts
yeah,
were.
we kind of translate, right?
Yeah,
Translate what inside our mind, then to put out to explain to others. So we
right.
think we do the same, right? Scientists and poets do the same.
Do
We
the
use
same
different
thing.
language, right? And
Yeah,
yeah,
and
so
you're trying to take the unfamiliar and
yeah,
make it familiar.
yeah, and
Uh,
make people understand, right?
yes,
To
yeah,
accessible, right?
to
Yeah,
communicate with
yeah.
it.
Mhm.
And and you want something that the reader will encounter with pleasure and maybe a source of illumination, a sense of illumination, oh, I've maybe discovered something. It's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sense of discovering something new that is part of poetry as well as part of science.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
we will talk a lot later
yeah,
from your poems. Yeah, and I know you helped a friend, right, to translate a book from Japanese into English, right? So you
yeah.
can share your experience, share your story. How did you do that?
Well, like I say, it was pretty hard for someone who's so unilingual,
Yeah,
but
you don't know any Japanese, right?
not,
Mhm.
haiku. I know the word haiku, but that's about it. But my friend Yukari Meldrum here in Edmonton, she loves the poetry of a Japanese poet of the early 20th century, Mizuzu Kaneko. And I think Sally Ito, you've translated her work as well. Anyway, Yukari wanted to write or to create a little collection of these translations of Mizuzu's poems. And she did the heavy lifting. And then she did the first translation, the basic uh, paraphrase into
Yes, yeah.
English.
Mhm.
And then she and I would work to sort of turn it more into English poetry. And I did find that a very illuminating process. And there was one point that was quite magic. We had finished one poem, and Yukari was reading it, first the Chinese, the Japanese, and then the English. And she looked up with this smile on her face, and she said, "It says the same thing."
Mhm.
And I thought, how profound a statement that is, to
Mhm.
say the same thing, because it means you haven't just encoded information correctly.
Mhm.
It means that you've, oh, I don't know, somehow
Catch the feeling as well, catch
you've
the
got the
emotion,
feeling,
yeah.
and you've transcended the borders of mind and of language.
Mhm.
And the fact that that's possible in any kind of glimmer. It doesn't always happen. There's all, we always talk about translation being what gets lost in
Yeah,
translation,
yeah.
what can't
Mhm.
be translated. But it still is amazing to me that in fact we can kind of get over that barrier sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. If do you want me share the screen for like
Yes, sure.
you said something? I think it's very okay. Let me see. It's very wonderful for on translation. Okay. Let me see. So you said that you can read for us. You said that.
Yeah, it's this little book. Does that read
Oh,
backwards? I'm not
yeah.
sure. It's called Shell of Moon and Sun that we put
Yeah.
together.
Do you want me stop sharing so people can
No,
see
no, it's
you?
okay. Oh, right.
Okay.
That's right. I don't.
Okay. Okay.
Don't
You
worry
can.
about it.
Oh,
I'll show it later.
okay.
Anyway, it's called Shell of Moon and Sun, the poems of Mizuzu Kaneko. And I put together a sort of note at the back, and
Mm-hmm.
part of it says, um, as translators, we are trying to create a braid strong enough to pull this whole world through a keyhole.
Mm-hmm.
And to do so, you ponder these numerous choices of phrase and diction. And for instance, we wanted to incorporate details of Japanese culture without making them overly exotic. In the original, these details are simply part of everyday life.
Yeah.
And the three strands that have to be braided together in translation: emotional significance and the sound and the context. And yeah, it was illuminating for me to work on this project.
Yeah, I read your translation, the notes, right? You said the three strands, it's like one is like the words meaning, right? The words meaning. And also in translation, we need to notice the sound pattern, the sound, right? Pattern. And also later on, it's the context for the
Right.
culture or for the science or for, yeah. So we have different contexts for different type of poems or articles, right? So we need to be noticed like that. So yeah, today I will discuss this, also show how I used it then in my translation. Okay, for your book.
I'm
But
looking forward
anyway,
to hearing about that.
yeah. Do you want to share more like on translation for examples or?
No, this is good. Let's just keep motoring along.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so everyone can see here is Alice Major's photo I took from her Facebook. I like this photo very much. But before that, I wanted to show the book. I wanted to show the book. So I bought Alice's book, several books, and I like this book very much. It's a book about science, all kinds of science. This book is the whole book is about science, and it has a beautiful title and interesting title as well, and a strange title, right? Strange. Standard candles. I know standard candles in scientific they have a special meaning, right? So
Yeah.
could you explain a little bit?
Yeah, a standard candle is a way of assessing distance. If you have two, think of a light bulb. You know a light bulb is 100 watts, and you see you have one over here and you have one over there. One that's fainter is the same intrinsic brightness, but it will look fainter because it's further away, and you can actually calculate the distance. But knowing that it's 100 watts makes it a standard candle. So it's a really important concept in astronomy. And I guess in so many, I loved the sound of it, standard candle. You know, it just seemed as though it was made for poems.
Yes.
Right there. But it's a really important concept.
Yeah.
And I think we're always looking for standard candles, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. I later maybe use standard title candles to guide my translation as well. Yeah, and you in this book you have a section subtitled standard candles. There are around the 10 poems, and tells how scientists made great discoveries. And so I think they find some special math, right? Or like ways to discover. So it becomes standard candles, right? So it's wonderful. I learned a lot from that. I also like your open section. The open section has a beautiful and interesting titles. It said it's titled the set of all gods. The set of all gods, it opens all the possibilities of writing about the science. So from the god of primer numbers, to the god of teapots, to the god of cats, the god of hearts, the god of gravity, and so there are 20 poems about all kinds of gods. And we will discuss also the poem, the Muse of Universes, so later. So there are so many interesting poems in this book, and some are in sonnet form, right? And I found the whole book was such a joy to read. And you know, I learned the science from school, right? I forgot a lot. But after I reading this book, I think I wouldn't forget anymore because you use very interesting and poetic way to tell us how science rules. Yeah. So we will show that soon. We will show. So how about you read a few from the book,
Mhm.
and we will to entice us. So how about we start from the back cover. The first poem from the back cover. I will share the poem so everyone can see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
could you read this poem?
Certainly. So this is the first poem in a series of sonnets. And once again, it's the, I'm just taking, so cosmology is one of the areas of science I really find fascinating. And it's basically asking the question, where did the universe come from? What's the history of the universe? And we've been making up answers for that for as long as we've been humans. Our religions, our mythologies, there's so many variations of the stories about how the universe came to be. Then there's what science is looking at right now, which is how the universe seems to be, well, there's a lot of evidence, of course, that an event called the Big Bang happened, that there was a beginning to the universe, there's an unfolding of the universe, that it's expanding, that galaxies are moving away from us at increasing speeds. But there's still huge questions that scientists are trying to figure out in terms of the details, like what's holding all this together? What are the forces, and how are they being transmitted? What is there besides matter and dark matter? And then there's dark energy, and then it's like one of the things that fascinates me is you can come up. There's so many models of cosmology. There's probably one to suit every temperament, and that's what started off this sequence of sonnets. So this is the first one, and I'll read it to you. Let us compare cosmologies. There is a beginning and a middle. There is an arc of narrative. There is a word, a large engraved initial. There is imperative, a cause, a God, or not. There is an end, a purpose, or maybe none. There is a plot with reasons, reason. There is a circus, a theater stage of space and time. There are equations at the bottom or the top. There is a pantheon of matter, motion, scattered photons. And the questions every universe expects. What came before? What happens next?
Yes, we all ask those questions, I believe, yeah. But
Yeah.
we're still wondering about the answers, right? So
And I
yeah,
think it's one
go.
of the lovely things about cosmology that, in fact, the answers aren't definite, and there's probably never will be.
Yeah, it's a miracle kind of, and we still dream about that. Anyway, so could you read this? Is page 20, page
Sure.
32? Yeah,
Sure.
and heavy elements. Yeah.
Okay. So going on from this is also sort of a cosmology poem. The early universe blows up. I'll just give a little background because once again, I hope people get the metaphor, but the early universe started to cool down a bit. That's what enabled atoms to form, like hydrogen and helium, the first elements, pulled together by gravity. Stars ignite, but those early stars couldn't build planets because the elements at that point in the universe were too simple. So they go supernova eventually, run out of fuel, blow up, and you get second generation stars, which in turn, those blown up stars have left us with heavier elements like iron and gold. So here's the poem. It struck me as being kind of a metaphor for how we start out in love. Heavy elements. The first loves come lightly, fused from the simplest elements, dizzy helium compressed from casual couplings in the first swirl of stars. But those first bright burnings cannot build planets. They eat their hearts out and collapse to leave a taste of iron. From their heavy-hearted remnants, the new stars coalesce, pull planets into orbit, endow them with granite and gold.
Yeah, wonderful poem. I think this is not only teach us about science, also teach us about life, right? About love. Okay, first love, be careful, really, don't burn out, right? Don't burn out. Anyway, so, and I also like this poem, the fingers of gold.
Fingers
poem,
of God,
yeah.
yeah.
God, fingers of God, yeah.
You want me to read that one too?
Yeah, yes,
okay.
yes.
So once again, this is a sort of optical illusion that happens because the universe is expanding. The wavelength of the farther away galaxies has been red shifted. Its wavelengths have got stretched out, and it makes it look as though when they do certain kinds of maps, as though there are a whole bunch of galaxies lined up and pointing right back at us.
I googled to find this photo. Is this photo match this? Fingers of God.
No, you know, I in a way it doesn't. I tried to find a picture
okay.
too, but they're kind of disappointing.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really give you the effect because they're yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
But I just don't you love the phrase fingers of God?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's an optical illusion, long strings of galaxies that point directly at us in telescopic images, fingering our privileged and central status in God's infrared field of vision. But it's just an accidental artifact of light's red-shifted waves, like the effect of driving into snow when every flake seems aimed at you. Make no mistake, don't think they care about us. In fact, they've stuck a key in their ignition and stepped on the gas, stick shifted away from us. They're neither indicator light nor portent. Get over it. We're not all that important.
Wonderful. So I noticed it's also 49s, right?
Yeah, it's a sonnet,
okay.
another sonnet. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay. And also I like how you play around the fingers and the pinpoint our ego, right? We are not very important. Not at all, right? Anyway, so now let's discuss the most important question now. How did the universe begin? How did the universe begin? And I wanted to show. Oh yeah, here is the book. I want to show the Alan Wolf's book. This poem, this haiku is from her book, and she tried to analyze the 31 or 33 poems. So one of this poem is the Big Bang is haiku. So I think it's very interesting. So I want to show it here, and also contrast with your poem later. So here is the title. How about you read, Alice? Could you see?
I do love this one actually. The Big Bang.
Yeah.
The cosmic housewife whacks her carpet with a broom, then rides it away.
Yeah, it's by Julie Ruder. Julie Ruder, yeah. I kind of find it very interesting, very image, like the witch, right? Like like the movie, the witch, just
but it's not, yeah,
use,
I
yeah,
like the idea of it being the
yeah,
star
yeah, yeah.
being a female.
Yeah, exactly. So now, yeah, now let's see how your poem deal with the Big Bang theory. So could you read it? It's also from the book. Yeah, the same book.
Yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and here I'm sort of thinking about composing poems as well as composing universes. The Muse of Universes. Once in a trillion years, the Muse of Universes claps her hands and with that shock of light reverses an eon of drift, dilution, the outward rolling wave of dark and the illusion of end time. A new draft she orders, and the universe erupts into rhyme, fields and forces echoing. She rebuts formlessness, sparks stanzas from an alphabet of particles, spells out what matters, what radiates, what tickles the fancy into galaxies with gravity's feather pen. She unrolls the scroll of space, says, there, now try again.
Yeah, wonderful. So when I try to translate, I'm thinking of you mentioned the three areas needed to notice, right? So first is the word's meaning, right? So here, because we're talking about science, right? So these fields and forces are scientific terms. So when translate, I also needed to focus to how to say, to still stick in the scientific term way, right? To translate it, not other way, not like a myth story or something, but more like science. Okay. Then also for the sound, I also notice some the rhymes, some lines rhymes, and also they had alliteration as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also you use this term is I will show you. I will show others later. So it's a standards like a way of say something, a table of something, a table of elements, a table of kind of particles, right? So I need to watch of this. And also because it's science, the poems about science, so I'm thinking when I translate, I should be very accurate, right? To be accurate, not just let my mind blow up to extend. And I remember the first session with Molly Peacock, right? I did translate her poems, and also I shared several other people's poem translated there, because I want to show other people how we can interpret differently, and for her poems, and also for Moritz poems, right? Because these poems are talking about the love, talking about the emotion or vision, or like philosophical things. So I'm thinking they had more room and more like freedom to interpret, right? But for science, maybe we needed to more like stick to like original one, right? Original poem, stick to, not to just let our imagination fly to somewhere else. So that's why when I translate, I'm more stick to your poem. Also form, as a form, like as the shape of the
Mm-hmm.
shape. So four lines each stanza, and also like rhyme, some rhyme, and also for this kind of for these words, it's a kind of scientific unit of time. So I also wanted to translate as a scientific way, right? And this also scientific way I translate, but uh, but I also want to keep it as a poetic way. And also it's like, for example, and also because it's, for me, this it's like a crash, expand, right?
Yeah.
So I try to use some words very short, very compact, powerful, but the sounding powerful, short, compact. So I also want to match. So when you see here, when my translation here compare, then it become more compact, a little bit short, and also rhyme. Some part rhyme, some part, because for the flow, for the language flow,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to switch to change the order. So for this line, the order, I change it to here. So I'm kind of like a beginning. I use the sentence begin, paragraph, no, free, fragment at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
then to say something. So I kind of, so see you here, I make the a little bit like just change the order. So here I still stick to the scientific term, and I use this scientific term. It's actually scientific term. So everyone understand, everyone know this is referred to science, referred to our like the universe, how it formed. So how it formed. And also here I think in Western we have a way to speak the a standardized set of something, right? We always use an alphabet of something, an
Mm-hmm.
alphabet of something, right? It means a set of something,
Yeah.
right? It's not alphabet, but it's a set of something, right? So
Right.
so that's why I use the table kind of like to translate, like okay, like so it's include everything. So like but it's also makes sense, right? Because from like when the universe formed, the like the stars bump each other, then the like the all atom bump each other, they will evoke the power, right? Then this power make the poem, make the universe, the poetry for universe, right? So I'm kind of you. So I'm kind of, so this is the uh, uh like a like a muse make universe as the whole, as her like scroll to design, right? To like
Mm-hmm.
how to say, to to design and to make. So that's what I try to do. So try to match, and so I'm here to describe what I did, what I changed, and to stick to that. And it's, I want to say it's not like at the first time, first session with Morty Peacock, that poem, the couple sharing a peach. Actually, I'm extend. I'm trying to add more, add more things for her poem, especially for the ending, because for her ending is a couple, but very short couple. So if I just translate as word for word, nobody understand. So I needed to extend a little bit, use my own imagination, use a Chinese image for love, then to make a couple, longer couple to translate. But here for your poem, for the scientific, for the universe, how universe formed, for Big Bang theory. So I use more like a stick to your poem, and it keep compact, keep powerful, and keep the sounds edit shorter and the sentence shorter. So I will read to you. So I let me know how do you feel for the sounding. I know you don't know Chinese, but I also ask our audience later when we have open session. You can also give the feedback or suggestion to see if I follow or if I misunderstood something or not. So let me read this in Chinese. 宇宙貌似女神，曾经1万亿年前，宇宙的貌似女神拍了一下手，接着随着一道闪电逆转着 亿万年的漂移、稀释、向外滚动的暗波、黑浪和末日的幻象。新的草案，它责令，于是宇宙爆发成韵律，长于力，呼应，驳斥无序。它同微粒表中激发诗章，用引力语表书写什么重要，什么闪耀，什么极力幻想，形成星系，展开宇宙卷轴。他说：“那儿，现在，再试一次。” So it's like that.
It sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah, I did so. You see, I did a rhyme. This rhyme, this yellow rhyme, yellow words rhyme, and here use like this rhyme, and also this also rhyme. So I use also rhyme, and also I think meaning also match. And so anyway, we will open up for discussion later. But also I want to mention several friends and translators also send their translation version to me, and I didn't post here because today we have a lot to cover, so I couldn't post that. And also I found maybe there is some misunderstanding in the for the second part, this part, and the last part. And for me, I feel there has some misunderstanding. So yeah, let me see. Yeah. So could you explain the second part? So for me, I think here, the drift, the delusion, the way of dark, and the illusion is the known, right? It's known. It's kind of state of the universe, right? So then it's the state. So the short of light changed this state, right? Could you explain or what? Yeah, I think they had some misunderstanding there.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that drove this poem in the first place, there's a theory called brain theory. It's one of the cosmology possibilities, and it's the idea that there's two brains, multi-dimensional membranes that kind of pull apart and come back together again, and you've started another universe. So I was playing around, it stretches apart. It seems as though the universe is drifting off and then it's going to come back together. In some ways, for instance, Anna, the reason I chose alphabet is I was thinking also of the way that a muse inspires us to write poetry. And sometimes you are drifting off in a long time.
Yeah, I know you happening. Yeah, I know you use double meaning here, right? Yeah. The alphabet have double meaning, but also for the scientific point terms, also it means a set of the particles, and the particles can do together to make something happen, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And also here, I found some people, like some translator you said, what tickles the fancy into galaxies? So could you explain a little bit? So
well, the sort of English phrase to tickle your fancy, to sort of, gravity is a really weak force, and it pulls things together very delicately compared to things like electromagnetism. But so it was kind of the idea, but it is gravity that actually forms galaxies. It pulls enough atoms together.
So you mean later on formed formed galaxies, right?
Yes, yes.
So into is means formed, right?
Yeah.
Formed
Oh, yeah,
galaxy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I saw
Into the-
some translator make a little bit misunderstanding here. So it's just like a form, because you're talking about the Big Bang formed universe, right? Universes. So yeah. So and also for me, when I have trouble to understand, I will analyze your sentence, the structure. So for me, I analyze your structure is like this is a verb, right? This is the unit of time, so it's noun, and all the behind, all the following, is attached to the noun, to the right, to all the following. So the drift is means a end of drift. So you can add kind of if we spend it, right, for understanding. If we spend, we can spend expand like that, like this put here, this put here, right? It's like and, right?
Yes, it keeps on going.
Yeah. So it's almost here, all like this is all known, right? This is not the verb, right? It's known, right? I mean, to it's a state. For me, I mean, it's state. It's not action. It's state, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Although,
yeah,
state of.
yeah. So that's why I want to just explain a little bit, because I think some translator make a mistake to change this as verb to change the. So I think
Well,
here it's it's
it
a
could be it is a kind of verb. You could actually, of drifting, diluting, you could almost make it that
yeah
kind of
yeah
participle. Is
yeah
that what you're saying?
yeah. But I feel your structure here is means because of the shock of a night, right? So it kind of changed everything, changed the like change. See, so it means that it changes these things. These things is long time ago. This kind of state, right? State, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then now you change them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Turn
for me,
around,
I'm
we're going to start a new draft.
yeah, exactly. So that's why. Okay, yeah, I think yeah, I got it, and I just want to ask but anyone, if you have a question, if you still have question, or you can ask later, or on open session to discuss more. That's what I feel. So when I translate that, I also use this like when you use the wave, I also still translate it as a wave, because the wave exists in universe, right? And it's a science term as well, scientific term as well. So it's there for the how to say, for the series, right? A Big Bang series or other physical series, right? It's there. Okay. Anyway, so
can I ask a question?
yeah.
When it came to translating, to using words in Chinese that are used for science terms, like one of the things that happens is that language moves words from ordinary language to science and then back again. So a word like field, has a in English, it's got this kind of ordinary meaning, the field out in the back 40 kind of thing where the cows are, and it's also got the electromagnetic field. But it's in Chinese, what would a scientist call that thing, a field?
So for me, I also have a challenge to translate this line, this fields and force. But then I found I think I found a solution. I translate it very simple. Everyone understand, and even normal people. It's not a jargon. It's not a jargon. It's still you can use as a science, like even use like a school, like a high school. It's just like this kind of words, like a field, like a physical, like a class field, like so the force means strength. So it's like so I use one word, just one short word. So this you can expand. Like when you think about that, you can expand. Then I thought that because I use one word, people can have their own like mind to expand
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I don't narrow down, but I still this can be to relate to science and also can relate to others.
Can I ask which of the words it is?
Here, 常与力,
Okay.
常与力, so fields and force.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, check that. But some people maybe, like I found some people translate the fields as medals. So I think, yeah, if you translate the fields and the medals, then I feel it's too much, because this is still is talking about science. Although you use like God image, right? The God to creative the world, but we still want to be like science, right?
This is what fascinates me about translation. And it's there was another poet who translated one of my poems into Chinese a while back, and she contacted me to ask how to, in one particular line, how to translate light, because I was using it in the sense of both light, the radiance, and light, the sense of weightlessness. And she says, which one do you mean? And I meant both, of course, but it never occurred to me that Chinese would separate those two concepts into different words, because in English they've been joined at the hip forever. And I just, it really fascinates me how language does this.
Yeah, sometimes maybe you only need to make, you only can make one choice for some time.
Yeah.
But for some time people get it, so no need I think when for example some because you have context, right? So sometimes you don't need to explain too much, people get it. So that's why sometimes because I'm poet, right? So like some translator want to explain too much, but for poets sometimes we need to trust other people's trust other readers, right? Trust reader to understand. So we leave some room. So sometimes I think the beauty for poetry translation, sometimes we need to leave some room, because we don't want to fill in other people's imagination, you know. So
as we do when we're writing the poem in the first place.
Yeah,
because we always do want to leave room, even when we're writing in our own language, for people to experience.
So that's I found sometimes as a translator you needed to make the choice, sometimes maybe leave some room, or you know, anyway. So we need to go we need to quickly go, we need to quickly move on, so we have a lot. Okay, so maybe this poem, you can read it. I just talk a little bit, then we will move. I only show my translation, don't read it. So you can read this poem if you want.
Oh, I want to hear you read it.
Oh, it's a
I hear myself
long
in English all the time. I like hearing I like hearing the other language.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Eros is an asteroid, one of the near-Earth objects that could crash into the Earth at some point. And Chicxulub is the asteroid crater left by the impact that probably destroyed the dinosaurs. So just so you know. Advice to the lovelorn. We are observing Eros, raddled asteroid, lumpish and erratic, on a loopy path such that our planet and that planetoid just might find themselves one day trying to inhabit the same point on their intersecting lines. So keep a wary eye on it. It's no sleek, bow-directed arrow, this potato-shaped tumbler, aimed at no particular target in the dark, just a stranger across a room that could suddenly become much too crowded. Remember this and contemplate the drowned crater of Chicxulub, where an asteroid stove in the planet's rib, turned rock to instant liquid, and instantly back to mountain, a crumpled scab, and how the noise was heard 2,000 miles away. Everyone knew your business. How dark the skies turned, whole species lying down to die in the shadows. But remember too, you can't see that crater now. The blue gulf washes over it. Small creatures you'd previously ignored became more interesting, filled in the gaps. And always remember, though nothing will ever be the same, still you are bigger than it is.
So I like this poem. You have a little bit ironic, dramatic, right? You use some dramatic way to say the damage for the heartbroken, right? For the love, and also you also have lighten up at the ending, right? And so you said still, yeah, bigger than it is. So for this poem, I didn't translate word for word. I more translate as the word meaning, as your mood or your tone, right? Your playful tone and your mood. So especially for the ending, I'm just lightening the result and uplift the spirit. I use more like emotional connotation to translate this. So and maybe I read two parts. So because we don't have time, I read two parts. So which two parts you want me to read? Then, yeah. So this part is very dramatic. You have like, so I have a little bit. So use the emotion to translate, right? So here is as also emotion meaning to translate. So yeah, and you said for the arrows now in China, a lot of people know this words arrow. So it's like people know the story about the Jupiter. Yeah, this story. So yeah.
Well, read the second half.
This part. Okay. 必须警惕他，他是剑，缺乏好弓，平滑引导。这个马铃薯状的不倒翁，在黑暗中没有特定的目标，就像只是个陌生人穿过房间，却可能会突然拥挤不堪。That's it. So anyway, so the ending part also is 永远记住吧，虽然不可能再像从前了。你会好好的，没啥大不了。So it means doesn't matter, everything will be fine later. So it's what you say is like that.
Yes.
I mean the end. So I didn't translate that you are bigger than it is. Yeah, I just doesn't matter. It's nothing. It's big enough. Nothing matters too much. Yeah, I'm kind of translate that. Oh, okay. So yeah, sometimes I feel now because we have a lot of tools, Google Translation and other tools, right? So if people really want to know what your poems meaning or what your poems, they can use like Google Translation to know a little bit what your poems tell about, right? But the tone, the real tone, the emotion connotation, the Google tools couldn't do that. So yeah, so that's why I try to chose to use the emotion connotation to translate it, right? So it's a little different but I think the meaning is the same. The kind of playful the way, the style is the same. I think so. But we can open up for discussion later. Okay, so let's quickly, I will quickly read my poem, a little bit related to science. I usually don't write poems about science. So I will read this, and the title is Not the Law. I sit by an apple tree, thinking of coincidence and variation. A well-dressed lady walks toward me, Bible in her hand, a lengthy lecture to make. From the loss of Eden to today's lasting happiness, she challenges my positions. The wind flips her well-worn book, as if to whisper, settle, settle. In disagreement, the apple above me fall and crack. Yeah, so I wrote like that. And I will show this poem because this poem is shape poem. Is my son and a great age, and his science teacher asked him to write something about the water cleaning system. So he made a shape poem about that. So he used the water as a title for the poem. And he started about the water wake up from the ocean, then go through the villages, the city for the clean of pipe for clean, then go back to the sky and go back to the ocean, then come back again. So he used this way. And I think it's very clever. He used the pipe, the roll, as each line to feed in the lines as water feed in, then cycling, right? So I use it as when I do poetry workshop for shape poem. So I use that. So, and I myself write a poem. It's also about the water cycling, but it's from nature. From nature, the water go to as to the sky, become the clouds, come back as rain, then go back again. So yeah, so just the contrast, a little bit contrast here.
I was going to say your father might be a little worried that his grandson is going to turn into a poet.
No, he doesn't worry because my son now also studied computer science.
Okay.
he had a computer science job. anyway, anyway, okay. Now I want to quickly read this short poem. Also, is about because I'm so fascinated about the fact, right? The snowflakes. Each one is so unique, right? And each one so unique, but they come together, it's almost the same, right? Nobody can different them. So I wrote this poem, Snow. I try to depict snow from a scientific point of view, transparent and unique, but it reflects the whiteness and whiteness that you leave behind. Okay, that's it. And we now have a wonderful photo. And Alex Major, look at George Elliott Clarke. What are you doing now here? Could you tell us about it?
That was at a reading in Windsor. Several, oh goodness, I can't remember how long ago. Trying to guess by the hairstyle. But yeah, George was one of the other readers that had been brought in, and we had quite a wonderful time. And of course, you're having him visit in the next.
Yeah, next session is George, our final one. Our final session, one-on-one, is George Elliott Clarke, and we will talk about the politics and the humanity, and his poetry is so difficult to translate. It's so difficult. I still have a pen. I needed to redo my translation, and so if anyone wanted to translate it, you're welcome, yeah, to try. And I will post I posted his poems after this session, so on Curious, so you can, if you want to contact me for his poems, and you are welcome to do that. And I want to welcome you back September 25th and Friday night, the same time with George and with me. And so thank you. Now we want to open the floor for questions and answers. So, and please feel free to start your video and unmute yourself, and we can and have a chat and also socialize a little bit. So, and you're welcome to give you're welcome to say something about the translation as well. So, okay, and I will stop sharing. So, and welcome you to start your video and unmute yourself. Okay. So, and also feedback if you want, or question and answers. Yeah. Okay.
Anna, I can't start my video. This is
Okay.
Vita. It's still disabled, I believe.
Oh, no problem. No problem. You can still say something if you want. Yeah. Yeah. You can unmute to say something if you want. Yeah.
Okay. So if you disable the video, it will be disabled like until then.
No. Video.
That's fine. No worries.
Oh, okay. I mean, video and speak is separate. It's not
Probably.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. First, I wanted to thank Alice. That was so interesting, and I was so excited to hear. First, I like the poetry, really like the poetry. I like the approach, the way it is expressed, the thoughts. This is really good. Second, this is I feel it's very close to me. Anna knows that I'm managing Arts and Science Club. When I started this initiative, most of the events happen in my native language, in Russian, but there's so many of them in English. But when I started, some people said that I'm crazy because what's common between arts and science? And you might be interested to hear that in Russia, in the Russian 60s, so many years ago, there were many arguments about they call it physicists and lyricists. So people who are science oriented and poetry and arts oriented. Lots of arguments that these two types of creativities are opposite. What I think, and many people that think close to me, no, you either creative or not. Basically, this is the same type of effort where you do something in really, for example, you find something new in science, or you write a poem, or you write a melody of music, right? This is, you need to do something that was never done before. I didn't find any, in Russian there is a special name, didn't find any better name in English, other than arts and science. Maybe it's better to say poets and scientists. Maybe you can say something better or whatever. Physicists and lyricists are not good. This name is not good either. But in any case.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just noticed from the chat book, Lily said alphabet could be a metaphor. Yes, metaphor. Alphabet be metaphor for sure, because the muse, right? The muse and write poetry is poetry. So of course, but as I explained, alphabet for in Western styles, they write something. There is a set of elements. Yeah, a set of elements. So when we translate, we wanted to include all the for example particles. It's particles make sense, and so that's why I use the table as kind of not the physical table. It's the how to say? It's the periodical tables. Yeah, that's one. A group of something. A group.
I was wondering, actually, Anna, come to think of it, is there, does alphabet have any meaning in Chinese? Because there's a very set order for symbols, and I do you have is there a corresponding thing in Chinese?
it's we called alphabet table. So it's order.
Oh, okay.
Alphabet
That's
table.
where table
Yeah.
comes. All
If
right.
you
Gotcha.
only say alphabet, it means one by one. It's one like the A or B or C.
Yeah.
So, but if you said alphabet table, then it's a set, a group of alphabet. That's what I understand.
Gotcha.
So that's
Gotcha.
why, yeah, I think, yeah, if you translate, you need also add the kind of the sets there. So meaning have you need to include the group, the
The
meaning of
whole,
group
yes.
there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make sense because only one alphabet you can't make a poem. Make
In
a yeah, or
in
one
Chinese as
even
opposed to.
one particle you couldn't make the universe, right? You need a group of. So that's why I think this is very important. Why when you use an alphabet, you're actually talking about the group of the set, right? The set of alphabet. Yeah, it's not
I totally agree. I totally
yeah.
agree. I want to respond from there, and including some other points that you have touched upon and Alice has touched upon in your discussion just now. So, so yeah, I totally agree. And I think the alphabet refers to a whole set of individual letters rather than just one letter. So if you don't mind, after I respond to some of the points in discussion, I'd love to share my discussion with the audience, if possible.
Yeah,
but,
sure. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to respond to a few things in your discussion. So first of all, I want to talk about the draft. The draft in the line, the new draft is a pun. So when I first read the poem, I feel the draft is the wind in the universe, you know, flowing, right? And then it's also a draft of a poem, right? So because the poem itself was written in a kind of poetic context. It's the muse giving directions or inspirations to the speaker of the poem. So in my translation, I try to make it clear that draft is pun, which is very hard because you have to choose a Chinese word to indicate both meanings. Oh yeah, it gives me headache. But I will share my translation in a while. And then delusion. I do agree with, so Anna said a delusion, obviously it's a verb, it's a noun in the original poem.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we don't have the freedom to use a verb to translate a noun in the original. So that's for me, I frequently use this, and I use this translation technique in translating prose as well. So so another good example here is formlessness. So formlessness, if you translate literally, let's say, into Chinese, it may lose the poetic nature, the pleasure of reading for Chinese readers. That's my feeling anyway. So I actually did something different in my translation. I will be sharing my translation with you in a while. And I really love Anna's translation of Field and Forces. So I emailed Alice while translating this poem. So, you know, field and forces are scientific terms. So what do they actually mean? So after talking with Alice, I figured it out. I said, 物理场, like a physical field, or nuclear forces, power. But then it's not in the original poem. I said, you know, 场与力, that's a great translation. I really admire Anna's rendition of this part of the poem. Yeah. Oh, back to Alice's question just now. Alice asked a question about, you know, in English, field means, it can mean, you know, a rice field, right? It can mean a physical, like, you know, electronic field, or gravity or kind of field. Yeah, I think In Chinese language, I was thinking about that when you asked this question. I think Chinese language is more exact. So a word needs to be used in a very specific context. For example, 长与力. So 长 is the word. It's a Chinese scientific word that suits perfectly the situation. But it can also be, if you want to use a field, translate the field in a different context, say in a rice field or other field, it's a different Chinese character. So just to respond to what Alice's question just now, and also Alice, you talk about light can mean, in English, can mean both, the light from a lamp or sunlight, right? It can also mean weightlessness. I was thinking if there's an equivalent kind of situation in Chinese language, yes, the answer is yes. I was thinking of an example, for example, shu. Shu, it can mean a tree in Chinese. It can also mean establish, 树人, 百年树人, like establish, or erect,把什么东西竖起来, you kind of, put it up. Let me think. Put up a chair, let's say a folded chair, something like that. So the same Chinese word can mean very different meanings.
I agree. So for the shu, that words you can use as a noun. Also, you can use as verb. So she talked about the first is a noun, like the tree. Then it's a verb to like elect or like to put up something. So but also all these words we need to have the context, right? We need to connect the context to understand. So for example, when you for example 长与力, right? For this poem, people will get it. It's for scientific point of view. It's for the universe, how universe to form. So we wouldn't want to talk about others, right? Because it's the muse of the universe, and the universe, like the muse, to try to create the universes. So for me, I think we sometimes you leave some room, like even you don't explain too much, people from the context, people already get it. So I don't think sometimes you need to how to say, to add more, or so that's what my suggestion. Just trust the reader sometimes.
Can I share my translation?
Can I make a quick comment? This is Yang. Alice, I love your poems. I think when I listen to your poems, I felt like I was watching like a Harry Potter film. You're like a master, like a magician or God. Just use all those theories, the forces, the gravity, everything at your hand as devices to create and to use those forces express them in words and conduct a poetry like concert. I was like watching a film, a magic film. And I think you're literally the outcome of the marriage of poetry and science, because your mom loved science and your father loved the poetry. I think you can write beautiful poems based on science, but when we write poems based on, say, feelings, it could be eternal. My question is, what if sometimes science could be wrong? What if you write a poem based on, wrong theory? what would you feel?
Well, poets have been struggling with that for a long time, or they haven't struggled with it, but their critics generations later have. I think of John Donne writing poems that where the science is wrong, but the poem remains relevant and beautiful.
Yeah, like keep that beauty.
Yeah, and I would say that you get it as right as you can at any moment, and then just offer it to the universe, which is what scientists do, because they're always it's always a provisional discovery. It's always there is always a chance that some data will come along and has to be incorporated, will change your view of what your results are, what your model is, which is just life, really.
Mm-hmm.
So but on the other hand, you don't want to look like a total idiot either if you get things really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of
you write a poem. Yeah, when you write poems about science like cosmology, right? Does that have any influence on your view of the universe, or on your any religion you have, like your view of the world?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Yang, because in a way I am actually working on a series of essays about the sort of nexus between poetry, religion, and science. I know in a way that I turn to science because I have been unsatisfied with the narratives of my, the religion I grew up with, this sort of basic Anglican religion. But we all need a framework to understand that our lives have meaning. And I do manage to construct something like that out of science. Now, I find that that's, very personal. It's not something that a lot of people find science or view science as cold and impersonal and sort of inhuman in a way, and want something more out of a divinity. But yeah, I do use it to help me structure a worldview about the absolute connectedness of all things. If I have any religion, that would be it.
Hi, yeah, like Yang.
Yes.
Lele want to share her screen, but I couldn't do that. I seems I couldn't change the mood or something. So okay.
Oh,
so
she
okay.
started already, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can share. Okay, I don't know. I thought I needed to give the permission or something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for allowing me to share my translation. So here we are. I just quickly read it. Can I?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. 宇宙诗神缪斯，亿万年间有一回，宇宙诗神缪斯拍了下手，接着一道闪电逆转了千古运行走向，稀释了向远方奔涌而去的黑浪和末日的假想。再重来一遍，他下了命令。接着宇宙迸发出韵律，场和力交相回应。他反对无序的诗章，用粒子字母激发诗行，用重力羽毛笔挥毫，什么重要，什么精彩，什么引发关于银河系的想象。他展开空间卷轴，说：“来，再来一遍。” Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, it has another kind of variation. Yeah, they had another variation. Yeah, as I told before, she changed used the long to change as the movement. So yeah, she made that kind of change. And also the ending for the into galaxies, she used the imagination, not into galaxy. So yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, but maybe it's it's another way. Yeah. Okay.
And Alice, I would be very interested in to read your book or essay about poetry, science, and religion.
It might take a while to get it out there, but
and I have a question for you, because
Okay.
Alice writes poems about science. That is because she has a very deep understanding of all those series. So I would imagine it would be very difficult to translate to a translator, because then you'd have to be very familiar with those series too, in order to translate those poems. I would think it's very difficult.
Yeah, I did watch several movies about the Big Bang, how Big Bang, how the universe formed, and I tried to analyze her poems like them. What them means what? Like I tried to connect what. And also I found her. I asked her if this them is it's referred to the star or referred to the planet, because according to the poem, I think the them can refer to either of them. So for example, she had eat the heart of something, right? And the own heart. So I needed to really to understand how the stars form, and also, but it's really helped me to relearn some science topic. The science, yeah, it's interesting. So now I wouldn't forget, right? So I know. Okay.
I did not mean to make it that hard for you.
because I forgot. So I already forgot. For example, even for I even checked the periodical table.
The periodic table.
Periodical table for the for the heavy element, how the order. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, I learned a lot. So yeah. But anyway, I
Thank you
think
very much. Yeah,
mhm.
it's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So do others have any questions? If you want, you can ask. Yeah.
Can I just jump in? Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to say thank you so much, Anna and Alice. It's wonderful to hear you both read, and it's lovely poetry from both of you. So thank you so much for that. But I just two things actually I wanted to say, and then there's actually a question I'll bring up from the chat as well. So the first thing I wanted to say in terms of translation, there was a French philosopher by the name of Michel Foucault, and I can put his name in the chat. And he talked a lot about three things in terms of language: knowledge, and power. And they're tied together, and you can't separate them. And so when you're translating from one language to another, we have to think about the fact that in English, for instance, certain things might be valued, whereas now I know, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Mandarin that you're translating to?
Yes. Yeah.
So in Mandarin, there may not be even a word to describe a particular concept in English, and vice versa, because of the way the languages actually are tied to how the perceptions are and where the power structures lie in that particular language. So really, when you're talking about language, it's more than just language itself. It's language and culture. It's a whole set of things. So it's amazing to actually see any kind of correlation between any two languages, because there are those gaps that are always going to be there. So I think it's really something amazing. The second thing that's related to that, I was actually in a session a few weeks ago with a publisher from Montreal about translation, and they talked about how when you are translating one text into another language, you are actually creating a new text in a way as well, because of course it really is at that process of creation as well. So as much as it's the original author's text, it also becomes the translator's text to some degree. So there's that's happening as well. So I don't know if either one of you would like to speak to that as well.
Okay, I want to just quick comment. So for example, when I translate the Moritz Peacock or Al Moritz poem, I gave myself more freedom. But for Alice's poems, because for science, I feel I first needed to know how the universe formed, how something. So I wanted to more speak on the the original or the scientific point of view, because I feel that can be made. I don't want to let myself to just imagine or just extend more things, because I think Alice Major's poems teach me science. So when I translated, I don't want to make the science not science again, right? So that's why I stick to that. I wanted to also,
And
yeah, but
Anna,
I
can
stick.
I add
Yeah.
a point? Frank
Hello.
here.
Yeah.
It's
Hi.
Frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have been reading a lot of recently. I have been reading a lot of physics book.
Mm-hmm.
Especially one from the Italian physicist. I'm seeing name. Carlo Rovelli. He is a physicist. Every chapter of his book is started from poem. He revealed a lot of deep connection between poems and science, and especially physics. It had been connecting a lot of scientists. They find the inspiration in poems and
Yeah.
arts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it help both ways. You help you understand science, and you help understand poem. Which is really I love tonight talk so much. I wish we can have more like um kind of um how to how to say, with kids. They can explain them the idea,
Oh
because so
yes.
many ideas so hard to grasp.
Yeah.
If you have a poem or art, make them so interested, so fascinating. I really appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
wrote about 5, 6 science-related poems. Oh, I find it connected so much. I hope I
Mm-hmm.
can write better ones later. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Could you share the author names in the chat
I will
room?
put it
The
in
chat
chat.
room.
I'll put it in
Okay.
chat. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah.
Can I just maybe talk to Renee's point about the limits in or the making of a new poem when you translate? I think there's the idea of choosing your constraints is true in any form of art. Anything you create, you're going to say, I'm putting this kind of box in it. I'm going to around it. I'm going to make this kind of poem. I'm going to make this kind of art, not that. And in a way, I think translation is a bit the same. You're going to choose the constraints that you think are important
Yeah. Yeah.
about what's going to be translated. So perhaps it is fidelity to the literal meaning of a text. Perhaps it's like Philip Larkin translating Baudelaire, and it's something completely different, and there's nothing in
Yeah.
it except
Yeah.
a mood that he's trying to establish, but none of the original detail. Are you going to be faithful to the sound? Are you going to be faithful to what you think of as a voice of the poet who originally composed it? And in a way, these are not dissimilar to the constraints that you choose when you yourself are just starting out to make a poem. You're going to rule some things out of the park and not others. So just my comment on that.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Thank you. Thank you both.
Anna, I'm just looking at the time. Are people not getting tired down there?
So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I think for me, yeah, I know usually I wrote something, I always come back to human part, come back to emotion, or come back to the nature. But Alice, you are so so detailed, so knowledge about science, because I don't think I have deep knowledge, so I'm only on the surface, right? I just
I have to confess, I am a dilettante. You know, I go in and out again. But I just read enough over the last 60 years since my mother gave me that book.
Yeah, so yeah, really sometimes I really hope I have more time to read more, right? Read more deeply. Yeah, then you are more like I agree with Frank. Yeah, sometimes I remember before, some science always get the inspiration from the poets, and some poets write something. In fact, later on, people proved it's true. You know, yeah, they already know that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, do we miss any questions? If we don't miss any question, maybe we say.
Sorry, Anna, there is one question about if Alice, if your set of essays will relate to the spiritual plane of life and perception. Are you anticipating that they will?
Sorry, oh goodness, it's all these things.
Sorry, it's actually in the chat.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Are you anticipating, Alice, that the set of essays will relate it to the spiritual plane of life and perception?
I guess yes, in some ways. There is an essay about translation. There is an essay about goodness, where is it? I was just working on it this afternoon. I can't remember what I've been working on. I'm about creation and about the links between creation and artificial intelligence and you know what is it to make something new and all those kinds of things. You know, I'm not sure so much a spiritual plane. I haven't really used that kind of language in it. Yeah, I guess I'll have to tell you that when I finish the book.
Okay. How about I welcome Liu Yang. Could you share some comments? You unmute yourself because yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Anna. Actually, I love the poem of Alice very much. As I have mentioned at the very beginning of this session, actually, I can find some classical elements in Alice's poems and even religion. Because in the poem titled The Muse of the Universe, it reminds me of Genesis of Bible. And I think most of us have this kind of impression. And as for its translation, I do have a question. In the third stanza, the third line, Alice wrote as into rhyme, fields, and forces. So actually the three words are parallel, and three of them are of one syllable only. If we translated them from English to Chinese, coincidentally, we know every Chinese character has only one syllable. So why not we choose the rhyme, field, and forces into three Chinese characters? So here comes the first question for Miss Alice Major. Does rhyme here mean poem or poetry?
I was actually thinking of it there as the technique of rhyme, of sounds matching. It as part of that's part of poetry. So the universe, the poetry starts to there's all these things that go into poetry. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Could I come a little bit? So because Alice line first, she said she rebirths. She rebirths formlessness.
Rebirth.
So because she reject the formlessness, so that's why the need to the rhyme. So that means she rebuild, right? And rebuild, make a new draft, make a new order, kind of. So that's why she used the rhyme, and then the force and fields echoing, because the force and fields echoing means action, right? It's a response to that. So,
yes, okay. For this point, I can't agree more. And in order to make it more of a poetic style, I just put it into just one Chinese character when I do this translation. I just put it into 诗 instead of 韵律. So that to conform to the meters.
I got you. You want to keep. She want to keep one word, one like syllable, one kind of sound for each, right?
But I'm not sure it does. Rhyme refer to poem. That is why I asked Alice, the poet herself.
Oh, I'm not the final authority.
but I feel I feel if you put the poem there, it's almost already complete, because rhyme is just part. It's just one order, the order of one part of the order. So I think if you put the poem already finished, so it's I mean.
What about?
I mean, it's
Chinese
already
word for something that's like more like sound.
Sound.
Take a word, because it goes to the. I mean, rhyme is echoing, but is sound echoing. But perhaps there's a similar thought.
Well, yes,
you could
it's
use.
really very insightful and inspiring. Yes, maybe we will just try other approaches.
You see,
magic. I write one poem and you guys turn up with 6, 8.
Anyway, but it's good idea. I never thought about that, but then I just think you want to continue, so you don't want to just stop there, right? If you put the poem there, it's almost feels you close up. So
yes. So from this point of view, we can say 韵律 as Miss Chen and Anna translated, and another option maybe. And for another point is the fifth stanza. Actually, so the fourth line, the third and the fourth line spells out. So what matters, what radiates, and what tickles. As we have enjoyed the two translations or two variations of this poem, I just want you to know what matters, what radiates, and what tickles. Here, shall we just put it into the verbal form or the noun form, such as, so what matters, should we say 物质, or what radiates, 荣耀, or say what tickles, time. Does it refer to time, 时间?
I got her points. It's another way. Really, it's really open up a little bit, open up mind for me, because I never thought of this. So what she wanted to use, like when you said what matter, what matters, she used the noun the
The
noun.
long form.
Yeah, change the verb to noun and translate as in Chinese is as noun, because for her she feel that, of course you have a double meaning there, right? You have the pound double meaning for
Yeah.
the,
Yes.
so she wanted to say, because also for science the matter also is important. It's even as a noun, it's very important for, and the time tickle, because of the tickle, time tickle, she
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
to use the so yeah, maybe you can think about that. It's a good way to think about that. I never thought about that, but it's good way. But the only
Thank
thing,
you very much, Anna. You understand me so much, so well.
only you need to how to come back, just sometimes when you try to use another way to thinking, you wanted to how to say to connect together. So that's I haven't think about that. Maybe I will think about how to connect. Then if it works, it works, right? If they can connect together, then it works.
Yes, this is what Catford says as the shift of translation. You can just put the noun into the verb and other forms of the words. And still, to be frank, when I did the translation, the order of the words and even the order of the lines confused me so much, and it's really very challenging.
Good point.
I will just point out that tickles was really chosen more for the fact that it rhymed with particles than anything. So you could kind of, it was tickles the fancy, but it was something that causes just something light, something easy.
Oh, I see. It is very much like what John Donne has done as the weight in poems or in poetry.
Yes, I think so. I think yes. Just a minute. I'm just reeling through my John Donne.
Oh yeah, I like him very much as well. Yeah. You can find the weights in his poems.
Yes. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look again.
That's good. I never thought about this kind of thing. But for me, I'm more focused on, stick. And also, for me, I think about how the universe, because for me, I think the most important for the poem is into galaxies, right? Form the galaxies.
Yeah.
So I said, okay.
However you get there is fine.
And then you try again, maybe form another kind of galaxy or whatever, right? So, and also, of course, it's double meaning poetry, another poem, right? So for the muse, right? Anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, I guess now maybe it's time. I don't want to let everyone to today is Friday night. I know a lot of people are very tired after work. So so maybe we wrap up, or your choice, your call.
Yes, I think
At least your call. Okay. So
especially
now,
thank you for spending this time with us. Share your thoughts, your poems. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you all, and I want to remind everyone to join our next session and find a one-on-one with George Elliott Clarke, and his poetry is very difficult, and I know another people will give me troubles later.
I'll be looking forward to that. So with George Clarke's session will be on September 25th.
25th,
And,
2 weeks.
And before that, next Friday evening, we'll have a scholar coming to decode the secrets in Xu Zhimo's second farewell to Cambridge. So
it's in Chinese, right? In Chinese,
Mandarin,
right?
Yes.
In Mandarin, okay. Okay, so and our next session always is in English. So, and welcome everyone to join and share your thoughts. And if you want to try translation, you can translate. And also, we can open up for discussion, for the question and answer. And today we have covered a lot, and I encourage everyone to buy this book, and it's wonderful. I read a lot. Open, really, so interesting. Like the god of a teapot. You use the teapot, to describe the whole, like the universe, like our planet, all the mountain, all the rivers. Use the teapot to describe. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
I also want to say thank you so much, Alice. I love your poem so much.
Thank you.
Also, I'm going to buy it and read it for sure. Very interesting, very inspiring.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And also, thanks a lot, Anna, for organizing this nice meeting. So I learned so much.
Oh, thank you all. Yeah, I hope you all join us for next session, and I will post the video on the YouTube, and feel free to put your comments there. And thank you very much. And good night. Stay well. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
And Anna, a very special thank you for all the work.
Oh, okay. It's really helped me. I learned a lot. I thought, oh my God, now science is so beautiful. Of course, I like science before, but I forgot. Forgot or not. Yeah.
Good. I have a convert.
Yeah, but that book.
What did you study when you were at university, Alice? What major?
I studied English and philosophy, but I had a very undistinguished degree